Hey everyone, LC Yebbing here with a very different kind of Pathfinder video. In addition to the Kingmaker game, I also play / run the tabletop version on a pretty regular basis. And I've got a campaign world that I've been working on for a very long time. Problem's always been that I need to refine and update my world and characters with each new release. Well, not anymore, thanks to Paizo's somewhat questionable decision to launch Pathfinder 2. It's safe to say there won't be much by way of new or first edition content coming from Paizo itself. So now I'm going to show you guys the latest and hopefully last build versions of some of my key characters. Welcome to Pathfinder Marvel, my conversion of the Marvel Universe into the Pathfinder system. And who better to launch this new series with than Captain America? So, obviously, Captain comes in a variety of forms. He's had so many different iterations, so when it comes to choosing which of him to use, we're actually going to be sticking to the Earth 616 Captain America, because he's surprisingly the most realistic. But I got this idea a few years ago when I found Avatar's Covenant of the Shield, which is more or less exactly what it looks like. It's the Marvel Universe in a medieval setting, with, all sorts of magic and whatnot. So between Captain Avalon and the other heroes there, and then also you've got Yeoman America, which was from Distortion Wave. And then you've got the Steve Rogers from 1602, or Rajas, I guess it's how he's pronounced it. So this was the second one that kind of really brought me into this. But yeah, so obviously he's putting him in Pathfinder. I have to make some concessions, and I gotta take some liberties with how these characters get built. But I'm trying for the most thematically appropriate version of these guys. And the most thematically appropriate version of Captain America has to have a shield. So Paizo put out this great archetype for the Brawler class named Shield Champion. I'm fairly certain that they were thinking about Captain America when they did this. So at 3rd level, we can start chucking our shield at the enemies. Alright? At 5th, it'll bounce from one to the other and then back to us by the end of our turn, which makes it better than a returning shield. At 7th, we can trip and disarm at range. And we can actually do all of this as part of our Brawler's Flurry. More or less the same thing as the Monk's Flurry. So I can interspace shield and unarmed damage, which makes perfect sense because Captain America is a master martial artist. Alright? So one of the other great things we get is the ability to knock unconscious, knock out. So a couple times a day we can just punch somebody in the head and knock them out right away, which is nice. So we're actually going to end up taking about 13 levels of Brawler with this archetype. And then we have to worry about the other half of Captain America. The fact that he's a bastion of lawfulness and goodness. And yes, that means that we're going to give him some paladin levels. Not too many, just enough that he can get some of the key abilities that we want to get. We want him to be immune to fear, we want him to be immune to disease. And we want to have his charisma bonus given to all of his saves. So that's 3 levels. And we're actually going to give him a archetype as well, which is the Divine Defender. Captain America's not a healer, but Paladin gets lay on hands. So let's change this up a little bit and use those lay on hands for shared defense, which allows me to kind of grant adjacent allies bonuses to their AC, to their saving throws, and to their CMD. It's situational. They got to be close to me. They got to be adjacent, but it beats having an ability you can't use. So that's definitely what we want there. Now, his stat line is going to be pretty rough. The easiest thing to jump to right away is going to be his strength, which I believe, if I pulled up the right one, yep. Alright, so Marvel Wikia says that he can put 800 pounds over his head on a pretty regular basis. So let's go ahead and use that as our base. And when we go over to the carrying capacity table, we see that 800 pounds is a strength score of 25. Alright, so that's good. What we're going to try and do is grab it to that 26, so that way we can get that extra +1 on damage to attack, all that jazz. It isn't essential, but it's nice. And this puts him on par with a Hill Giant or a Merilith Demon. Yes. So I'm also going to be using high fantasy rules for this, which means it's a 25-point buy for his starting attributes. And since I like to be able to be this guy as a player, he's going to get a player equivalent wealth for his level, which at 16th level is 315,000 gold. Alright, so what we've got so far is that we know we wanted about 25, 26 for his strength. Dex is a little rougher. I mean, he's got ridiculous reflexes, and he can dodge bullets shot point blank, but that doesn't give us a numerical thing that we can put to that. So, again, going over to D20 PFSRD, you can see where the editors kind of put together a nice little chart here for us. And right here, they've got capable of dodging multiple thrown objects. Very graceful. Alright. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. Captain America does have super reflexes, super agility, so this seemed appropriate. They'll get him the reflex save, that'll get him the initiative, they'll get him his AC, which is kind of like him dodging bullets if you want to go that far. Not a lot of bullets in Pathfinder, but, you know, they're there. So, 22 is what we're aiming for in regards to our dexterity. Alright, so I kind of got that written down here already for you. Constitution. So we've already got immunity to disease, which is one of the big things that Captain America more or less is. He also is 460, 616, very good. Peak human stamina. Right? He almost never gets fatigued. Run forever, all that jazz. And so the way that we're going to simulate that is with a decent con score. Again, D20. I look here, and we see that at a level of 20 to 21, very difficult to wear down, almost never feels fatigue. That seems like a pretty apt description for what we're aiming for here. So we want a constitution of about 20. Okay? Intelligence. Intelligence is significantly more difficult for Captain America. He's a straight-up Renaissance man. Like, we look at his stuff, and not only is he a tactical genius, you know, he's an expert in a whole lot of skills. He speaks 7+ languages. He can kind of do a little bit of everything, but he does a little bit of everything incredibly well. I'm not willing to call him like genius level intellect because it's pretty narrow in terms of the tactical genius, but I mean, he's certainly not dumb. He's definitely above average. I ideally, I would like to get his intelligence at about a 16. I'm not going to be able to do that, but that's where I'd like to be. So if I had given him more levels and started with more cash, I probably could have gotten him up here without much of an issue. But yeah, so I'm not going to hit that, but I want to. Wisdom is kind of Cap's thing, in my personal opinion. He's super perceptive, like that's how he is able to use his shield as well as he does, is the fact that he can literally perceive like all of the angles and knows exactly where to send it. And just he's also like that guy you go to for sage advice. So when we look over at the abilities in D20, we're going to see that often looked as a source of wisdom or as a counselor, right? Which, of course, includes everything above it. Reads people in situations very well, gets hunches about situations that don't feel right, right? All those things are things that I figure Captain America should probably be hitting. So I'd like to, if everything was going perfect, I'd actually like to get him up to a 20. Yeah, reads people and situations very well, almost without effort. Again, I'm not going to pull this off, but it's where I'd like to have him at. Charisma. Alright, so no doubt about it, Captain America, super charismatic. Alright, born leader. Even if you take off his fame, he'd still be on the super high end of normal. So I want to give him an 18. And I think I'm actually going to be successful in this one. Yeah, I end up being successful in this one. I was willing to drop it down to a 16 if I had to. As it turned out, I was able to tweak some things and bring that up to an 18, so I at least got one of my mental stats correct. And the other two only had dropped by a little bit, so I didn't feel too bad about that. So the other things that I'm using when I build these characters is, obviously I'm using HeroLab for all of this, is I use some variant rule sets, namely, oh, I passed it already. So namely I use the background skills system, which kind of gives you the ability to have a past, have a history, and then I use the fractional base bonuses. Yeah, there we go. Background skills, fractional base bonuses, unchained classes, although he doesn't use any unchained classes. Fractional base bonuses means that instead of like stacking good save on top of good save when you multi-class, or suffering because you have 2 3/4 bad classes in a row, you get a fraction of what you should get, which means that you're going to average out to something more appropriate. I use that in all of my games now. So I built that in there. But using those, we can give him things that I feel are very thematically appropriate, right? So Captain America, he was a great artist, so I gave him craft painting. I only put it up to 6. I mean, he's honestly better than that, but it's something. He can do something with that. I also wanted to give him knowledge history because, let's be fair, he lived it, so he might as well have it. And I wanted to give him profession soldier. And then I used linguistics to round out the rest of the languages I want him to be able to speak, since I wasn't able to get his intelligence exactly where I wanted it. The other knowledges, I gave to him more or less his general knowledges, so at least he can roll on something. The guy's been around the block, he's super smart, why not let him take those? For his combat skills, those ones are acrobatics, diplomacy, intimidate. The knowledge dungeon comes from one of his items. Knowledge local, because that's all of the laws. Knowledge planes comes from an item. perception. There it goes to that fantastic wisdom, that like seeing everything coming. Sense motive, he's going to pick up on people. He's got a little bit of stuff, a little bit of survival. Easily he could have had more, but we'll go with that. And I gave him just a point of climb and a point of swim, so that way, since they're class skills, he might as well get 4 points for the price of 1. So that rounds out his skills, and I think it's a pretty good spread. Perception total of 23, acrobatics of 14, sense motive of 13. Yeah, so he's certainly a capable individual. Feats are hard with Captain America because you need a lot of them, and luckily with the brawler and its martial flexibility, we don't have to worry quite so much about what we're missing out on, because like these ones here can be changed on the fly. And I mean, they're not always in play, but they're there in case we need them. That's any 3 combat feats that we meet the prerequisites for, he can just know as a swift action at this level. And that's fantastic. But the other ones that gave him, deadly aim, he's throwing shields, he's gonna want to deal damage. Dodge, why not? AC, power attack, he's throwing fists, he's gonna want to deal damage. Weapon focus, shield. Improved initiative, he's gotta go first. Improved shield bash, deal more damage. Shield focus, get a little bit of extra AC. Shield slam. Free bull rush, so if you want to be able to tactically move people around the battlefield, there you go. 2-weapon fighting had to take kind of a feat tax because it's not really necessary for the brawler class, but I had to take it in order to get all of the benefits of Shield Master. And the benefits of Shield Master are massive because your shield's enhancement bonus to AC gets added to your attacks and your damage rolls, and you don't have to dual enchant your shield. And that saves so much money. But yeah, so the other skills, or other feats I took: weapon focus, unarmed strike, shield or weapon specialization, shield, weapon specialization, unarmed strike. And the great thing is that I can double these up some more with my martial flexibility. If I want a little more damage, I can take the greater weapon focus, greater weapon specialization for both of those as well. I gave him reactionary because the 1, it gives him initiative bonus, I don't like that, but 2, you were bullied often as a child. I mean, if that's not Steve Rogers, I don't know who it is. So that's great. And then student of history, I wanted to make sure that history was a class skill for him because he's lived it, like I said. So this way he gets a whole lot more out of that. I don't use drawbacks, so I just kind of left that as is. But yeah, so other uses for this. Before I removed everything, I had the crane style, crane wing, crane post. Man, if you need some extra AC, that's like an extra +8 AC. Just free. Well, +8 to melee. And you can deflect, and you can counterattack with that. It's potent, and you don't lose hardly anything once you have all 3 of those. And you've already got all the prerequisites, so that's kind of the thing with the feats, is that you took a whole bunch of prerequisite feats, so that way, when you wanted to build your chains, you could. If you weren't going to build that kind of chain, you could also go with something like distance thrower, greater weapon focus shield, and point blank shot. And then you can chuck your shield a little bit farther, hit a little more often. You could also do distance thrower, greater weapon focus shield, and greater weapon specialization shield. The point blank isn't going to give you a benefit after you move outside of the 30 feet anyways. And if you're not thrown into combat, you don't need precise. But if you are, well, you shouldn't be thrown into combat, you should just be getting into combat. So anyways, martial flexibility, super, super adaptable here. All the style feats are a good choice in that case. Gear. Yeah, so the only way I was able to get his attributes where I wanted them to be was by spending a boatload of money on a belt of physical perfection, +6. So that was almost half of this dude's wealth. And then we'll pair that with the headband of mental superiority +4. Gets me to 26 strength, 22 dex, 20 con, 14 intelligence, 18 whiz, and 18 charisma. So my intelligence and whiz dropped 2, but I hit all my other targets. And that's fucking fantastic. So the other things I gave him, of course, so the shield. The shield's fantastic, right? So it is a +5 throwing adamantine light steel quick draw shield. And because of Shield Master, that +5 is on attack, it's on damage, it's on everything. Normally you have to dual enchant a shield if you want to be able to get a +5 to your AC and a +5 to your attack out of it. This cost a whole whopping 25k as opposed to the easily 100 plus that it would have otherwise. And because I get my shield back, even if I throw it in a round, I'm always going to be capitalizing on this +8 to my AC, which is great. Max dex as high as I want. 1 point of armor check, not a big deal. You know, especially since this thing's going to be cutting through almost all DR. Because that's burning through alignments, it's burning through adamantine, obviously, burning through mithril, it's burning through cold iron due to the enhancement bonus? Enhancement bonus is what it is. Sorry about my dog, guys. I can't necessarily do anything about that. So then the regular armor that he's going to be wearing is the +5 Nimble Mithril Breastplate. Total AC at 10 there, gets to capitalize on all of his decks, no armor check. It's light armor, so he's getting all of his extra bonuses to AC out of the Brawler class, and brings him to a pretty close to a 40. I got a couple other things playing into that, which you're going to see in just a second. But considering, you know, what this guy, what he's kind of made to do, he's doing pretty well. So Amulet of Mighty Fist, +1. That was the one thing that taking the shield champion cost me, was that my fists no longer count as magic for the purpose of overcoming DR. Amulet of Mighty Fist +1. Now they do. Alright, plus, you know, an extra +1 to attack, +1 to damage, not a bad thing. Boots of Striding and Springing. That's to kind of replicate the fact that Captain America is stupid fast. You know, so at a 40 speed, he's going to be faster than most of the other people on the field. And then if you've got someone on the party throwing haste down, he's going to be even better. But it's a start. Cloak of Resistance +5. I kind of just threw this in there. I didn't even need it, honestly. I mean, you look at my saves here. I got 24, 24, 20 with that on. Like, those are really high saves. Like, that would be a 19, 19, 15 to take that off. That cost me 25k. Why not? You know, this is also going to play into that fact that, like, super reflexes, you know, he's been able to fight off mind control. It plays to who Captain America is supposed to be. The Knight Inheritor's Ring gave him an extra +1 deflection bonus to AC. It's just like a ring of protection, but it also gives him the ability to bless weapon, which means that these fists, which are now magical, can also be good aligned for the purpose of overcoming DR. The shield's already going to overcome alignment-based DR, so we're not worried about the shield. It makes him be able to do the part of prestidigitation that makes himself look nice. And if he absolutely had to, he could War Train mount via the spell, which I didn't even give him ride, so he's not probably going to be using that on a regular basis. He's not meant to fight from horseback, unlike Captain Avalon was. And then last, I gave him the Monk's Robe. Personally, I kind of look at this more like the leather jacket that he was kind of wearing in the movies. But the important thing is that it boosts his AC, and it brings his unarmed strike from a 2d6 to a 2d8. Which is exactly, you know, he's a melee powerhouse. I don't think I said this already, but we made Captain America human. We gave him the dual talent alternate racial trait and gave him the bonus to strength and dex. So this brings him out. As far as the extra points spent for his levels. That is counting something for 8. Okay, that's just a weird visual glitch. I give him 3 points into strength and 1 point into charisma. And that's how he gets to the stats that he's at. So, he's got 193 hit points. That's assuming you roll the high end of average on all of them. It doesn't really matter which class you took first because both of them are D10s. So, that's pretty simple there. We're looking at an AC of 40. And again, you can boost this up to an easily 48 if you take the crane stuff and fight defensively. Flat-footed at 29, touch at 22, fort reflex 24, will at 20, plus 12 initiative and 40 speed. Alright. On average, using the shield, you're going to be sitting at 32 points of damage per hit, which, meh. At this level, there are a lot of people who are able to do a whole lot more than that. But you're also going to be pretty close to untouchable. So you're playing the long game, I guess, with this particular guy. And you can flurry. So, yeah, that's 32 points per hit, but you can take up to 6 swings in a round if you're flurrying. You're not going to land hits on the last 2. More often than not, but it's there for you if you need it. And like I said, you can make ranged attacks as part of this flurry. If you do, that means you're dropping down to like you're unarmed while your shield bounces around. But like you could start out with these 2 shield flurries and then chuck 1, and then you drop down to a plus 14, 9, 4. To punch somebody in the face a few times. Or if you shield flurry twice and knock out the guy that you're hitting, then you can chuck the shield and have it ricochet 4 times. Which is ridiculous. No other class in the entire game can do that, and that's what's fantastic about this. And the other thing is that you're kind of built to fill in that tactical gap that whatever the team is missing, you can be that guy as far as combat is concerned, because you've got those martial flexibility feats, total of 9 a day, which is great. So can I build a better 16th level character? Is in terms of like stronger, more focused, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Easy. Can I build a better Captain America at this level? I don't think so. I think I've really grabbed everything that is Captain America and put them into this build. And it's really all about that flexibility and about that just that pinnacle, that shining example that he's going to be for the other people on his team. So I'm going to take this. I've already made a PDF of it, and I'm going to throw it up in a Google Doc, or a Google Drive, sorry, so that anyone who wants to download this can, and you can kind of goof around, play with it, whatever you want to do. Use it in your games, use it as a template for you to get to. I don't exactly show you how I got there in here, but you can probably piece most of that together. But yeah, so I'm going to do this for a whole lot of the other Marvel characters. Kind of one at a time, obviously. I'm going to start with the Avengers. Maybe I'll move into the X-Men. I got a whole lot of villains already pre-built that I can show you. Some of those guys are already up on the Google Drive, which I will link to down below. If you got any ideas for how to make this guy better, or specifically who you want to see me build next, let me know down in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.